Jai Hind, everybody, and welcome viewers to another fireside chat of Jumboard Consultancy, or JBC as we call it. JBC, in its pursuit to enable veterans for seamless transitioning to corporate world, conducts a series of fireside chat with veterans who have successfully transitioned into the corporate careers or the entrepreneurship to understand their transition journey. This enables the rest of veterans to understand the approximate do's and don'ts to chalk out a customized transition journey for themselves. After all, it is themselves. Each veteran has to do himself or herself. In the process, we also interact with HR and business leaders who have earlier hired and managed veterans to get insights and advice for transition, as also to understand how to interact and manage the veterans. After all, veterans are a special class of people themselves with special qualities amongst themselves. JBC has been launched on 27th of May this year. Until now, we have conducted 7 webinars, 7 fireside chats, and 32 individual focused sessions. We've also launched our battle readiness program for transitioning veterans from 4th July till end of this month. This brings me to inviting our special guest today. Our special guest is none other than Manohar. Manohar Diali is a veteran from Mechanized Infantry, and he is presently an HR leader in Indus International Schools since 2015. He's got 15 years of experience, a huge experience by any means, in managing human resources. And his last stint was as a senior consultant HR at Capgemini India Private Limited. That was between 2011 to 2015. He's an alumnus of IIM Lucknow, OTA Chennai, and Hansraj College, Delhi University. In his army stint, he has served in the Western sector. He has been in the Northeast and counterinsurgency areas, including a tenure in the United Nations peacekeeping operations in Sudan. His acne lies in problem solving, conflict resolution, and crisis management. These are his core strengths, which come from the comfort of his knowledge gained by working hands-on. This is in addition to what he's already learned in the service duration. So when he worked hard on himself, he is what he is today. That brings in plethora of experience, plethora of knowledge that's beyond education. And possibly now is the time when wisdom dawns. And he's here to answer some of our queries, to help our veterans understand what lies ahead of them. Manohar, I have a set of questions for you to help our veterans learn more, grow more, and throw more. Yes. Enter the world of corporate and the civil world and enjoy to the hill, the same way we all enjoyed our army stint. To that end, your first question is, tell us about your journey in defense and move to the corporate world. All yours.
Thank you, sir, for your introduction. And it's an honor to be speaking in front of our brother officers and seniors like you, whom we always admire and look forward to learn from. I am a mere small person learning and growing right now in front of what you all have already achieved. So my journey at defense was quite enriching and exciting. I got commissioned into 24 Mechanized Infantry in the Recce and Support Track Battalion, which is erstwhile 20 Rajput Infantry, Jodhpur Infantry. And I served in Western sector, and I did a mostly adjutant's role in my battalion in Western sector, then served in Eastern sector, in Northeast, in the Eastern border areas, into counterinsurgency, and did a brief tenure of ADC, then went to UN and all those things, and did everything what all Faujis do. Then when I planned to leave at that time, I left in 2010, and we were in a difficult situation because market went through a recession in 2009, and there were no jobs in the market. And though we went for this IIM Lucknow course, and there I mean, we reached out to everybody. It was just the sheer strength of the batch that was running the course. We didn't leave a single company, a single corporate, or it was purely networking. We were a batch of course mates there. We reached out to everybody for an entire 6 months for jobs or guidance. And thankfully, as luck would have it, we got I got 3 offers at that from there, and I chose this company which had the lowest salary, not the one which had the highest salary, because of the role I wanted to. Because normally when I see people talking to me of about anything or any job, they would say, "Kitna doge? Kya CTC hai?" Nobody asks what is the role, what is the future, what is the growth, and what is the learning. So that is something which I always had clear in my mind. So I got through Capgemini in the interviews, and we were 3-4 of us who joined, and I joined into HR. Coming from army background, I thought, okay, HR is something which is easily doable. However, the parlance and the roles changed completely. I mean, you were left like a novice. So then I realized that, okay, we need to learn from as a fresher from ground. So you roll up your sleeves and start learning from as a fresher. You go and meet everybody and learn the tricks of the trade. And it's a heavy, it's a big task. So you're wearing your ranks and coming out of this in the civvy street. It takes almost 6 months to a year to realize that you're no longer an officer of army, and you no longer can pass orders or get things done, because you have to be on your own and be maybe a part of a crowd, from somebody to nobody. So it's a big emotional journey as well. And but we roll up our sleeves, and I joined and started. What I used to do differently, I used to sit with a person and try to understand what that person is doing. For example, I joined Capgemini in the technology company. I used to talk to people. They used to say, I'm a techno-functional, I'm a functional consultant, I'm a SAP developer, I'm a Java developer, I'm a Oracle programmer. So I used to sit with them and ask them, what do you do? Can you explain me? Like typically of that pattern that we used to follow in army. When you join as a youngster, you go to the lines and do all the duties. You do santry duty, langar commander duty, and all this duty. So I followed that pattern, and that helped me a lot. So I could learn about each trade inside the organization. And if somebody is doing, say, finance job, I used to sit with them, talk during my off hours or over the tea, and I used to understand, what do you do? Can you tell me what is your role? So that helped me to understand and come to a stand where I could talk to others and the people in the organization with some confidence. Otherwise, people would say, "Isko to kuch aata nahi hai." So that helped me a lot, and that's where my learning began. And when I was given a small team to handle, then gradually I increased, delivered there, and handled various recruitment team and various role in HR, and spent close to 5 years at Capgemini. Then later on, I changed the sector from IT to education, because education was booming, and education and healthcare, as you see right now, it's expanding in all terms in the market. So, and edutech is a bigger new thing that has come up. So that's how I landed in education, and role of HR is similar, be it MNC or education or any sector. You need to deal with labor laws, you need to deal with hiring to retirals and motivation, people, employee engagement, appraisals, and talent management, and everything that is under the sun. So that has been my journey till now. So it is all because of the guidance of seniors and learning by yourself, and this hard work. That's about it.
I think so, Manoj. It was an interesting journey. I think what you spoke about learning in the lines which you used to do in our military tenures, and then you did the same thing, sitting with all. Means though I know Oracle, Java, I've heard of it, but I still don't know the difference between. I'm sure you working in Capgemini, you must have understood the difference between each and everyone. And I can say with a lot of pride. And I know someone who has joined in the internationals, and the way they are grooming their teachers as leaders is something which is worth emulating. They're trying to make each of their teacher as a role model, as a leader, and working on building them, helping them build a well-rounded personality. So I must say, Manohar, huge compliments goes to the HR director in building that kind of environment to, I say, groom teachers as leaders. So thank you very much, Manohar, for this question. Over to Jeevan, sir.
Wow, thank you, thank you. So, Manohar, you said you gave us two wonderful points. One was that all that you started and doing was going to each member of the team, whichever company you served into, started talking and understanding. And a technical giant like Capgemini, it was must have been a great journey. And the
Yes.
second lesson that we draw from you is HR is not what we really did. We barely did training and development of our soldiers. We did not recruit them. We did not actually do the complete appraisal or the performance management to that talent hunting to an extent, yes, but majority of other jobs were new to you and you
Yes.
learned them so well, whether it was labor laws, union, talent hunting, and so on. So HR as such encompasses a huge element, and we
Yes.
as veterans need to understand this. Thank you for opening these horizons. Go HR, but very important, grateful. My second question straight to you is, what would be your suggestions to us veterans who are transitioning from defense to the civil world? Over to you.
Well, sir, firstly, I mean, when I left the army at that time, there were no social media, there were no Facebook or LinkedIn to dabble with, and we didn't have smartphones as well in those days. And it was based on CVs and personal connect, and Gmail was there though, and we didn't know what to do. I mean, we just thought, okay, we'll leave, but we don't know what to do, what next, where to go, and there was no compass or no magnetic north that we could follow. However, now I feel people are more prepared. They are more situationally aware of what is happening, what are the job prospects in the market, and it's social media and has helped a lot in what kind of careers they could choose. My advice would be, because we didn't have a choice when we left, the first option was to jump into another whatever job, because we did not have pension, nor we had salaries when we left and a family to support. We just thought, let me get whatever I get, then we'll see. So as a result of that, what I see in many people, good or bad, many people join wherever they want as a first job, then they keep on searching and jumping jobs every year. Okay, they say, oh, this job is not good, I'm not happy here. Then again, they jump to another job. Then again, they jump to another job, third, fourth, in a search, and later on they get frustrated and they don't know, where they've landed themselves. So it's very important to select the career or the role that you want to do next, and give your heart to it, and so that you can stay for long. Uh, Personally, I always try to stay for at least 4 or 5 years in an organization, because at least 6 months to 1 year it takes to understand the organization. After that, you start giving back to that organization. And I would say there are plethora of options now. I mean, and as you see, the biggest disruptor like COVID, because of COVID, now half of the jobs vanish in the market and new kind of jobs have come in. And the situation now, Netflix was nowhere before COVID. Now see, Netflix has disrupted the entire technology and TV. Who watches TV these days? Netflix, Amazon Prime, or even the mobile internet. People don't read newspapers. You just need to scroll. And so there are too many jobs that's coming up with the technology coming in. So technology job obsolescence is on the rise. We are at the fourth industrial age, where the obsolescence is so fast and acceleration is happening at such a pace that you don't know what is lost. I mean, you look at Kodak, one of the biggest companies in photo market, photo cameras and market one, they don't exist now. Nokia phones, I mean, they did not re-roll, or they did not relearn or adapt to the market, and they vanished. So if we look at only one career and think, okay, I'll get into this role, For example, I feel like, I don't know, after 5 years, I may not have HR. HR will not be required in the market at all, because AI would take over, computers and robots may take over. For example, the drones are coming in, and even the, you say, robots may come in as soldiers, what shown in the movies, because now terrorists also, they've started using drones, and they want to negate the cost of manpower and material, so they could use technology. So majority of roles are changing into technology front. So we need to balance out and see what we really want to do, and maybe something that you really want to follow with your passion that may help you.
Thank you, Manohar. Well said. Abhishek, like to add on something on role of HR, the suggestions to the veterans to have your mind and arena open for identifying the true focus and the true opportunity.
So I think what Manohar has spoken is very, very relevant. The way there are few companies which have just been phased out, they have vanished in the market because they didn't adapt. I think this relates most to the veterans. They need to unlearn and relearn, which maybe I think it's a very good correlation where people great companies, huge companies have vanished from the market. I think that's very well put out by Manohar. HR, I believe, will stay and in different forms, maybe through AI, and because HR is from army or from military, we think that HR is only resource management or talent hiring or acquisition, but HR is someone who is the greatest lever to ensure culture in the organization, and culture is the biggest, I'll say, biggest growth engine for any organization. Means more than innovation, means innovation also is something which comes through culture. So
Yes.
that is something which is led and managed by HR leaders. So I don't think HR is going anywhere. Manohar, you are going to continue to rock in that industry.
No, so what I mean to say is there are two things. One is job skills that require IQ and repetitive task, and certain jobs that require EQ, emotional quotient, or there's a combination of left brain and right brain.
Yeah.
So the right brain is to more to deal with creativity and passion and emotions, which a computer or AI cannot replace you. So now we'll have to look at creativity in your job and creativity in your role, so that you can fight with the AI and machines. So that is what we need to focus on in the future. And I mean, one could say, okay, I'll become a security. Physical security may not be required. You could have all cyber security and all through, connected through internet, and you could monitor everything on cameras and security systems. So there are a lot of job obsolescence which may come in. So we need to re-roll and ready to adapt and learn. Yeah.
So the next question to you, Manohar, is that while you given part of the suggestions to veterans, we also would like to understand what are those things that veterans should unlearn when moving to civil streets. Part of it we have spoken, but there's a large gap still exists between our world and their world. So what is it that they should unlearn before they move out?
So, well, I would say most of the things that we learn in Army is a value add, or Army, Air Force, Navy. That's all value add, and that adds to our DNA, and that is our strength. However, to unlearn, I would say, is to leave the baggage behind. Biggest thing, baggage, and to expect that somebody will outside the civil street will respect your rank. Yes, to an extent they would, but they will not give you a job or say a certain role based on that. And to position yourself at the right place, and to do not underestimate your capabilities, I would say, because we have been through SSB and you have all those OLQs, and I would say that will add on. So another other part of unlearning would be ego. You need to keep it aside, completely. You brush the ego aside, and do not carry that forward, because it will hurt you big time. Anybody, it will hurt their sentiments and morale. So yeah, otherwise ready to be adaptable and learn new things, and not to carry the baggage, I would say.
So you say, leave the baggage behind, leave the ego behind, be ready to learn new things. Abby, add on something new, please.
No,
You
so I
have
think
tremendous experience.
I think he has covered it well. That two words, package and ego, is good enough. We need to unlearn. Then we are open for
So
learning. Over to
they were
you.
the
Next question.
actual nails that you have pinned, Manohar. And if we can leave these two things behind, we shall automatically be on the learning curve, the learning path. And that's the way to grow. That's the way to success. This brings me to the next question. Uh, from suggestions to veterans to unlearning, when we think of the civil world outside, what would be your larger message to the civil world when it comes to veterans?
Well, we have tried most of the times, and to convey the same, the CV Street is a veteran is a person who would come with varied experience. They have handled multiple roles, but in CV Street, what works is the relevant experience. When they are looking at the CV, they'll only see what is your relevant experience. So that bringing in that relevance is our job, to bring in that relevance to that role, and we could always promote the veterans, so we should, and whatever way we can, we would uh, tell the CV Street that the veterans come with the mix. For example, when I talk about HR, if I have to promote myself as a veteran, typically in a role, for example, a supply chain role, if you take a 10-year profile, a person of experience of 10 years, he would have only done supply chain. Or somebody who is into HR, he would have only done HR. Or somebody who is into finance would have done only 10 years of finance. Whereas an army officer coming in, he would have experience of various departments, maybe HR or supply chain, or maybe engineering, project management, man management, as one of the biggest asset, dealing with men, and crisis management. Army is all about crisis management all the time. Left and right, you're just doing crisis management. And so these are the core skills which are add on then, other than your skill that you are presenting in front of the table, that you bring to the table. That's an edge, I would say, in comparison to other candidates from a CV Street.
Thank you, Abhishek. Anything more to add on to it?
No, sir. I'm good to go.
Wow. So you have very well said, Manohar, that the veteran is a multi-role aircraft. He can bomb, he can recce, he can pursue, he can go into the enemy territory, he can blast the entire set of enemy setup. So once a veteran moves out, he's got so much of experience and wealth of knowledge, which needs to be channelized as per the requirement of the target. So the target is civil world, target is our adjustment outside. It's not the other way around. And therefore, as veterans, when we go outside, the civil people understand us as a person with an expertise, a person who's a multi-role aircraft. But in order to be adjusted, he expects us to be focused and deliver what their organization is looking at. And if we can fit into that grab, I think we'll do a fair amount of job. And a lot of our veterans are already doing a fabulous job. You and other veterans that we spoke to have actually proved our capabilities, our belief that veterans are of immense value to the nation. Veterans are immense value to any organization, is an asset there. This brings me to the last question of the day. And you are an expert in HR, so it pertains to your profile as such. Why should veterans look at HR function as a career option?
Well, I feel that veterans, they handle various situations. I mean, in HR, it is every day is again there might be certain situation that is thrown up to you. Somebody has resigned. There's a conflict. There's an issue in the team that needs to be resolved. There's a some alignment that needs to be done in the organization towards certain focus and certain mission. So I think the veterans come with these innate capabilities of managing people, because managing, I would say, an event is just one of the part. We have done from man management. We would organize events in the Army or Air Force or Navy. We had done various kind of operations. So the core of HR is human resources, human resource management, which is again managing human resources. There are various roles. So you have done that in the army in many years. So that has an an added advantage. So it is about portraying that and to learning the new parlance of the civil street and trying to match up and bring that those skills on the table. So that will help you to as a stepping stone with a when you're moving towards HR, and you can keep learning new things and keep learning the jargons and various activities that happens in HR from your colleagues, and you need to be adaptable. So you could just go there and adapt and fit there. So it helps them to grow as a leader, and the core values like integrity and perseverance and adaptability helps them to progress better, I would say.
Thank you very much. So what brings in is that our innate capabilities of HR management which exist or we learned in the army, and we can utilize them outside Bengo. Abhishek, add on, you've had tremendous experience of entire North Zone in India, where you moved men, material and resources at a whistle, and you did it in a tremendous fashion. How do you add on to his HR expertise?
So just one correction, I was managing part of North along with my North head. So I agree to what Manohar is saying. We, in our army experiences, we are always the fault to guy. Anything not happening, any issues within the team, any conflicts, we are told, okay, go and manage this. About people, about behaviors, about layers of leadership, we have been managing that. And in outside means corporate world, HR is the person who holds the team together, maybe getting new guys, putting the right place in the right kind of job, ensuring the culture to ensure the team is working together, working closely together. So HR is the person who is holding the team together, and there are certain organizations which are where HR leaders are more important than the operational leaders, and they get more precedence in the seniority of leadership, I can say, because they are holding the team together, which is very, very important for delivery of the whatever service that company is doing. So I believe I agree to whatever Manohar is saying. Means we are someone who is very well prepared for those kind of roles.
So this brings me a question in mind. How do you compare HR role in a company vis-a-vis operations or marketing?
See, all those roles are different. And when we say as a Fauji, when we come out, you say, I want to get into operations. Now, operation, we don't know what is operation. It's a very vague word. Operation for say supply chain would be different. Operation in an IT company would be different. Set of operation, they would be handling the project management operation. Certain army operations are different. So you see, operations, when you use as a word, it differs from company to company. Now, supply chain, again, it is completely different when we follow the movement of man, material from say from a producer or manufacturer to the customer. So they follow certain processes and entire gamut of things. HR is again, now it is a basic I would say core of the organization, which everything revolves around, from hiring to retirals to adding team, building team, and HR would get those resources and manage them.
Thank you.
So I'll try and simplify in army parlance, sir. HR leader is like a Subedar Major to the commanding officer. He gets him the pulse of the organization. He ensures if there are any issues which are underlying, which needs to be known, he ensures to work on them and ensures they don't happen. And at the same time, he ensures in the talent pipeline, similar to 2IC, barring the operational duties, 2IC is also doing the most related jobs to what he's doing. Similarly, as we say, in a company or in an armored squadron, the senior JCO actually doesn't do anything, but he's the person who is advising on everything. He's ensuring that the commanding officer, the operation leader, is ensuring the culture of the organization, which is very important to the heart of what they're doing.
Wonderful.
So
Well said.
initially the HR came up in the previous industrial age when there were too many factories. So HR used to be the face between the laborers and the management, and they used to deal with the labor unions, labor laws, conflicts, and all the acts and like PF benefits and all those ESI and all those things. Now the role has changed from those, though they still exist in the manufacturing units, but it is now more emerged as a business partner role. Now it is more of a business partner who would advise the business to how to run the business successfully. So it's in partnership now. That is the change which is seen over the years.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So that actually gives me a very clear thinking with your wisdom that HR is innate to our nature by virtue of being in the uniform itself. And in addition, all of us have one or more core expertise.
Yes.
So we have this twin or multiple capabilities to switch to the corporate role or entrepreneurship role as and when we decide to. And as an HR expert, you are the pulse of the organization. We can keep it ticking to its best rate. The 72 rate is all that you brought to the organization, and that would be wonderful. We finished with the major questions. If there are any questions from the veterans, I'll invite most welcome. Kindly
I would like to
I'll request if
yeah.
Manohar can present his slide and then we take on the questions.
Okay. Very
Come on, go on, please.
So as a veteran, we don't know. We are we are on the verge of moving out to the civvy street. We don't know what is happening to how does the HR work in hiring. So I'm trying to give you a brief preview of how the companies work vis-a-vis, so that it brings some clarity to our veterans when they are applying or looking at jobs. So,
all right.
Let me share my screen. So how the recruitment works in an organization, for example, even an IT company or MNCs that we apply to. So there is a vacancy or a new position that comes in that organization. So the certain department heads or the vertical heads, they say, okay, I have got this vacancy. So then they create a job request or a job requisition in the system, or either it is written or through their ERP system. That is created and that comes to the human resource department and talent acquisition department of HR that deals with the hiring. Now the HR team, what it does is they look at the role, they decide the JD and discuss with the hiring manager or the department head, and then they discuss on finance, on the budget, what is the budget required for this role and what kind of profile that we are looking at. And they do the fitment analysis, that what kind of profile we need, what they will fit our culture or such kind of things. Then they start with the job posting. First is the free thing that they do where there's no cost involved, is internal job posting. They post it within the organization so that if there are some people with the relevant skill set, they could apply for this. Then they do employee referral. Again, it's a cheap and a cost-effective method when they tell your employees that you can refer somebody you know, and we can hire. Third is job posting. They post it in their websites and various other sites. And newspaper, though it is becoming irrelevant nowadays because it's a huge cost to do a job posting in newspaper, and nobody's reading them anyways. And now the most important and the in thing is social media. Posting on social media, which is gathering more resource and talent when the entire country is on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So that happens. The last comes is the hiring consultants. When you don't get the people from here, then we outsource it to hiring consultants who would charge you certain amount for the hiring. So this is how the hiring process happens. So certain pointers on the job search, it's a demand supply game. We feel that certain veterans, they've asked me if I pay to a corporate HR consultant, somebody, will they get us a job? I doubt, because that won't work, because it depends on demand supply. They might have huge resource, or you might nature. Another mistake that we do as a veteran, which I also did when I was leaving, is copy paste of CVs. I just pick up a CV of one of our seniors who was doing certain role outside, try to add on pointers from there, not realizing that it will not work out. The thing that matters is relevance. There is a JD, and what's your profile. We write everything in our CV, from operation management to supply chain to man management to HR operations, everything that is under the sun, and we make it a 5-10 page CV. But when the recruiter is working, they'll just take up those key skills that is required to hire. They'll put in that system in the Naukri.com or wherever whichever sites they are using. They'll key in those key skill and tap, and those resumes having those key skills and the relevant skills, only those will come up and show. So others gets neglected. So that is one point to keep in mind. Nowadays, it is all happening through application tracking system or AI-based filtration system in the corporations, MNCs, everywhere. I would give an example. Every day you see jobs on LinkedIn. When you click on that, those CVs go to the company's person who has posted the job. Now imagine it is on the social media platform and say 100 people or 1,000 people are applying. It is humanly not possible for a person who has posted the job to reply and see all those 1,000 CVs. So what the AI-based system does is they look for the key skills or the filtration that we have keyed in. If it is not there, your CVs will get automatically rejected by this computer itself. So there, the AI will filter the CVs, only take up those 5 or 6 relevant CVs as per the program or the keywords that you have selected, and only those CVs come into the pop-up in front of the person who is looking at the those CVs. And another mistake that as veterans we do is we are random shooting. We don't do ek goli ek dushman. If you're looking at a profile, look at the JD and try to match and make your CVs according to that, and look for one job and focus on that job and apply there. And you cannot shoot with the same CV, and even say if you make a CV of common JD and common profile and you share that CV everywhere, that may not work. So you have to customize your CV and profile accordingly. And you need to articulate your skill set and what is the value add that you bring it to the table. So basically, you need to reimagine your resume to be a marketing brochure that has to sell to the reader. So certain tips for job search. Networking is the key. Now, in the advent of social media or either via social media or in person, try to do networking and try to find out who is working and build the connections with people. So tomorrow, if you have certain job in certain company, you could reach out to this person and find out more about it. Or you could request that person if they can help or refer you to that company. So that may help. And also when you look at the jobs that is in Naukri.com or even in social media like LinkedIn or wherever, who has posted the job, if you scroll down, you might find the details about the person who's posted. Try to contact that person and send a message. Otherwise, what happens is that person may not see your CV at all. And try to edit your resume as per JD. And it is about getting the first breakthrough. Once you get into the resume selection more stage, I think 4Gs have that kind of confidence that they can at least, impress the person. Given a chance, you can always bring that your expertise on the table. And please prepare right, in advance. If you're planning to quit after 2 years or 1 year, it's a good time to prepare. If somebody is from engineering background, it's good to look at certifications into PMP or certain kind of things that they get a lot of leverage in the IT companies as a project manager. Then please, my humble request is to learn Excel. Excel is something which is must know. And I think all those, even the Jawans and JCOs who are leaving army, they should be taught Excel in their retirement phase, at least a week's course in that. And do certifications that you want to follow or you want to get into a certain role. Do those certifications. Find out about what are the courses, what are the certifications which will highlight or amplify your profile. That is one option. That is for the job search. Now I have another segment is those who are not looking for job. I would say people, those who have other things to bank upon. Some, if I have a pension, or if I have, I can take a chance for a year or so, or 2 years. I would say try and get into entrepreneurship. Follow your passion, take an entrepreneurial route, take risk, and then you got nothing to lose much, and do always what you wanted to do, and maybe follow your heart and start something on your own. Because I've seen a lot of officers, they've done extremely well in this sphere, in this sphere. So, and when you think about that, you want to do something that you always wanted to do, then you'll always have a way to find it. As the quote says, when you know what you want and you want it bad enough, you'll always find a way to get it. Thank you. So
thank you very much. Wonderful insight into the subject, and I'm sure we will all benefit. Let me straight away get on to the questions from the veterans. Anyone who has a questions, kindly.
Suppose I have applied through LinkedIn to one of the vacancy which was available there. How much time does it take? How much time should I wait for whether my resume is selected or not? Is there some timeline, 2 to 3 weeks, 5 weeks? Because what I mean to say, I have submitted my first resume on 2nd of July. Now it's been almost 20 days plus, but I have not got any response. So generally, what is the timeline for this?
So the favorite, the word that floats around in HR industries, I'll get back to you, which they never get back mostly, right? So I would say it depends on the profile and the role. Nowadays, you could also see in LinkedIn, if you're applying, that how many applications have gone. There are 50 applications, 100. So it is humanly impossible for a person to connect with everybody and reply back. Although nowadays, due to this AI-based configuration and the programming, the system itself sends you a rejection mail. If otherwise, if you're not contacted for, say, max 2 weeks, then I would say that it's not, it's no point waiting, because they might have found somebody there and they are in process of the hiring process.
Okay.
Right. Add one thing, Satish, over here. Just to add one thing, Satish, over here, there are times when the organizations wait for more time for more applications within the company also, because the internal job postings are means that route is much cheaper and more proficient for them. But at the same time, as Manohar said, means you should not just apply in one company and wait for it. You have to apply in a plethora of multiple companies wherever you want to focus on. And obviously, wherever you're destined, you'll go ahead.
Yes, Manohar, one more question. This was the case of LinkedIn. Suppose I apply, suppose there is a company CBRE. I am from engineering background, so I have applied through their portal, through their company portal, and I can see the status. Does that status, is it correct most of the time, or do they update, or they just leave it like that? Because that is also has taken about 20 days. As I told you, I have applied for my first job on 2nd of July.
So what happens is, sir, certain times that you might have applied, and there's a recruiter who is tracking that system, who is tracking your application and updating time to time. Now, if the recruiter has got best 5 CV or 10 CVs with the recruiter, he or she will be processing that. Maybe your CV is in the second lot, they don't want to lose out on.
Right,
so
right.
That whole process at least takes 2-3 weeks, finding somebody to interview, somebody agreeing to that timeline to interview, then candidates availability and the management's availability. That whole process almost takes a week or 2 weeks. Sometimes it's faster. So it depends on the criticality. I mean, with most of the companies having 3 months notice period, nowadays they don't want to finish off everything early, then roll out an offer. So that whole process takes time. And again, it depends on the criticality of the role. If certain role they feel they can hire even after after 6 months, so they are a little relaxed and they might go casual on it. If it's critical, then they will do it in a 2 days time frame as well.
Just one thing to add to what Manohar said. See, they are great organizations, and they feel that the one way to interact with outside world is these candidates who are applying. And HR leaders like Manohar, they look at multiple matrices, how the candidate experience has been, what has been the TAT of all the roles for which people have applied. So all these recruiters who are working on these roles, they have certain metrics to abide by. And I'm sure if
Okay.
either they will close the loop in some time,
Yes.
but they will not let it be open for maybe 3 months or 2 months. Within 2-3 months, they will
Okay.
close the loop.
Maybe because I am experienced, because it's just been 20 days. So maybe I am experienced this thing. Maybe after about 45 days, I may see the, updating their portal.
So because the recruiters, they follow certain metrics, their performance is measured in those metrics. That what is the timeline that you use to close a vacancy, what is the cost that you've incurred to close a vacancy, and what is the quality of candidates that you're
Okay.
getting in, and how fast that you close is again because they have another queue in their waiting in their queue to hire. You want to finish
Yes.
this, and yeah, so it is an ongoing process in any big MNCs and organization, because people come and go. So it is a supply chain system going on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you, Manoj. Thanks for the input.
You're welcome.
A lot of times you find a lot of organizations publishing number of vacancies, and their wait period depends on what he said, criticality
Yes.
versus the availability, and then accordingly they go. Any more questions, please?
Well, it's been a good platform to discuss with the veterans here, and I would be happy to assist anybody. They could reach out to me through LinkedIn, or I'm always happy to assist on any ways. On personal number I could share here. If you have any queries, and even regarding like how to calculate a CTC, I've been offered this salary here, but what should I take it or not? Or what the role entail. So any such clarity that you require, any help, please feel free to reach out to me, because it's time for me to give back, because certain seniors have helped me when I was leaving. Certain veterans have guided me. I feel it is, if we as a veterans don't help each other, then CV Street is not going to help at all.
Wow, that's a great concept. I appreciate and I salute your magnanimity in extending this wonderful help. And through you and we at Jumboat Consultancy are doing as it is, a lot of it. We have given a formal shape to help all veterans, and veterans like you are actually the platform where veterans can get help. Abhishek, your closing remarks, or
Sir, before I add, I think there's a small question from Kushal Pandey. He is wanting some tips for effective resume writing from Manohar.
Make it short and crisp, maybe maximum 2, not more than 3 page. It should be ideally 2 to 3 page, not more than that, because people don't have patience and time to read beyond that. And highlight on your achievements more. I mean, people do degrees and PhDs, and all the they write on the pages and pages, but you can't articulate that and say what I bring to the table, or what I can contribute. At the end of the day, it is what matters is what can I do for you, or what can you do for me. Yeah. So just highlight those points, that these are my skills and this is what I've achieved and this is what I can do. So that is how the CV should say. It should speak for yourself. And yeah, one other thing is, please do spell check. Nowadays we have word software, spell checks, and also once you make your CV, run it through various people, 2-3 people, and because they might find some errors or irrelevance which is not required. Because if you make your own CV and you go through it, couple of times, you need to redraft, reread it, and to try and understand that, and make it crisp. Put catchy words, I would say, which would attract, and when you see the job descriptions of various organization posted, try to copy certain job description that you can, convert with your experience, that what you have done in army, that may look relevant to what is written there. So yeah, so that can be converted in the CV.
Thanks, Manohar. Thanks. So I think Kushal, over to you, Baljeet.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir. Manoj, I think the queries like regarding the this point keep coming, that the networking on the social media or on the LinkedIn, Now we in the army generally, you can say these social media sites are some restricted. We don't know much of the people in the city streets, and how we actually expand our networking in the civil streets before jumping out out of the army, so that we have some kind of a network. And when you say the networking, what it entails, it just that you know people, or it just to follow, or you have some kind of a know-how. Just a brief upon that.
I would say it is about building relationship. I have my postmate here in the call, Jyoti Panigre, who is an expert in that field, building relationship, and it's about selling your brand image. And for example, you want to get into, say, Google, but you don't know how to get into Google. Try to find out, make friends with people, and you don't make friends in a day or two. Maybe you comment on their profile, or try to share certain ideas, certain thoughts, snippets, and then you connect and maybe connect on LinkedIn. And for example, easiest way is the veterans. We write to our veterans and say, hello sir, how are you? I am this and so and so. I would like to connect on LinkedIn and seek advice on my career progression or anything. So they're always forthcoming. I have seen that, and then you could look at growing that network base through that person, another person. I mean, to connect with, ask that help from that person to connect to somebody if you know in that organization can guide me. So that helps a bit.
I think it's a great idea, like the connecting to the veterans. So do we have any platform or any organization which keeps the database of all the veterans who are working in the outside world, so that we can get connect to them and somehow seek help?
I mean, the social media is one of the platform. Then meetings like this is another platform, and people, those who are already working outside, talking to them, and even every course seniors you would know, or people in various fields. So maybe getting the idea of how is the industry like, what is the job role there like there. You need to see that and to get a better first-hand information.
And till the time you are comfortable with me, I will not open up with you. So you have to become friends with people around, become a go-getter on social media, and start interacting socially. Remain within the limits of ethics, grow on professionalism, select a topic of your choice, and keep building that kind of rapport. And after some time, people will start commenting on your comments. People will start inviting you. You can personally have one-on-one talk with Jyoti, or can join our session sometime later on these two or the entire BRPS, such battle readiness program that we conduct. And we will have your entire session on starting from day one till you join the corporates. And JBC, I'm sure, will be able to help you also in placement in times to come. All right. Yeah, I hope that answers Baljit partially. Any more questions before we say thank you to Manohar?
Thank you, sir.
Sir, I'm audible, sir?
Yes, Rohit.
Yes, Rohit.
Sir, I have one clarification. This is regarding, sir, like if somebody want to join outside, sir, and as earlier I told, I'm having the 2 or 3 years, sir. Sir, is there any basic certifications, like despite of instead of going in a particular field, like I'm in signal, sir? So is there any basic certification that has to be mandatory other than your core certifications?
So what certification does is it is just endorsing what you already know. They just have few questions. Certain certifications are very difficult. You need to go through the entire process of reading and studying and that material, and then you sit for an exam. Certain certifications are easier for a person who has already handled similar roles and who knows the in and out of it. For example, if I have done 10-15 years of HR, if I go for certain certifications, it is all situational awareness tests that they do, and they want to test your knowledge. So certification is nothing but just a certificate that they are giving that this person knows this job, just to endorse and put a brand. You must have worked, served in a high altitude. The ribbon that you get is the certification that you wear on your back.
Sir.
Just to add on, certifications will not help you to get a job. As Manohar said, it will only be your endorsement for what you know. So unless you are going there to learn something, it will only help you to add on to whatever knowledge you have, or maybe translate that military experience into that corporate learning which you want to, where you want to focus for. So I think we come to the end of this session. I would like to personally thank Manohar for his time and valuable insights, and I must salute him for the personal effort he has taken to create those slides and tell how the process goes into a recruiter's mind and how he's looking at profiles, because there's a lot of, as I think Satish was sharing, that that position the veteran is while he's applied and is waiting what is going to happen. I think that happens with most of us, and I also gone through that dilemma where I was worried whether I am getting selected or not. But Manohar has made it very clear. Thanks, Manohar. Thanks for your time. Over to Jeevan, sir. Let's sum it up.
Thank you all. Manohar, it's awesome to simply say that. Why I use the word awesome is because you've connected heart to heart with all of us. And this heart to heart talk is what will carry the value. This value that you've added on will carry the veterans. And what you really said, lesson one is keep talking to others. That is building your network, doing your resume, keep connecting. The second lesson that you said is select the job and put your heart and soul into it. Don't go random firing. So once you select the job, what Rohit was asking, select the job, go for it, then certification, and finally into the job. What unlearning you said, you leave your baggage and ego behind, and thereafter you are a simple sage getting into the corporate and you will be selected. And thereafter you said we are multi-role aircraft that can do any kind of job. Be specific, focused, oriented, and it gets going. What Abhishek said, that veteran is a fall guy. Everyone looks at you. Isko bol diya to kaam ho jayega. So that's the value we carry outside. All that we got to do is prove to them that I'm good and a contributor to your organization, and they hire you. So all that we have is from Jumboat Consultancy, from the core of our heart, and from all of us as veterans, we thank you immensely. Those veterans who joined us very late in the session can look into our YouTube channel, Facebook, and other places. You can connect us directly with us, and we'll be able to help. We'll be very happy to help you all. Manohar, you have designed a career for yourself. You've actually created a divisional or core size area for yourself. Heartiest compliments and congratulations. And it's been your single focused approach that has led to the success. We'll look forward to you for continued support to our veterans, and we'll keep connecting with you for a lot of jobs in future. Thank you, Abhishek, for doing the value addition. And all veterans, I can't thank you enough for joining and energizing us to continue to contribute to the cause of the veterans. Thank you all. Have a wonderful weekend. Jai Hind.